Business Buzz.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Buzz, where we focus on global and local events that affect Sri Lanka's economy. I'm Theruni Karunaratne. Let's start off with the headlines. DFCC to raise 8 billion rupees via Basel III listed debentures. Combank's 12 million rupee debenture issue draws 16 billion rupees. World Bank releases a second $250 million tranche. Justice Minister assures small and medium enterprises that the government will bring a new law on parate executions. Angola pulls out of OPEC. We start out with some market news. DFCC Bank is to raise 8 billion rupees via the issue of 80 million Basel III compliant Tier 2 listed debentures at 100 rupees each, opening on the 29th of December. DFCC Bank has announced plans to raise 8 billion rupees through the issuance of 80 million Basel III compliant Tier 2 listed, rated, unsecured, subordinated, redeemable debentures with a non-viability conversion option at 100 rupees each. The tenor is up to 7 years. The proceeds are intended for use to strengthen the bank's Tier 2 capital base and support loan growth. The issue can be subscribed from the 29th of December, while the official opening is on the 5th of January. The joint managers to the issue are Capital Alliance Limited and Equity Partners Limited. Fitch Ratings has assigned DFCC Bank PLC's proposed debentures a final long-lasting term rating of BBB. The proposed debentures mature in 5 and 7 years. The Commercial Bank's recent issue of debentures worth 12 million rupees saw 16 billion rupees in applications. Commercial Bank's debenture issue closed on its open day of the 12th of December with an oversubscription. A total of 486 applications were received for 16.186 billion rupees for a debenture issue worth 12 billion rupees, which was an oversubscription of 35%. The initial issue was of 6 billion rupees of debentures, but the bank exercised its option for a further 6 billion rupees. These debentures were Basel III compliant Tier 2 listed, rated, unsecured, subordinated, redeemable debentures with a non-viability conversion option at a par value of 100 rupees each. They were offered with 6 different interest rate options. The highest number of bids had been for 5-year debentures with a fixed coupon rate with an AER of 15% payable annually. The Cabinet has given its approval for a plan to split the life and general business of Sri Lanka Insurance into 2 separate entities.
Under the public enterprise reforms, the Cabinet has approved a proposal to separate the life and general insurance business of the state-run insurance giant Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation or SLIC as distinct legal entities. This decision is aligned with the provisions of Insurance Industry Regularisation Amendment Act No. 3 of 2011. The proposal was presented to Cabinet by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies. Accordingly, the 2 new entities would be Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation Life Limited and Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation General Limited, which would be wholly owned subsidiaries.
Tourist arrivals for the year have crossed 1.4 million, according to statistics of the Sri Lanka Tourist Development Authority. The number of tourists up to the 21st of December 2023 was reported officially as 1,404,998. This is compared to 719,978 for the entire year of 2022. It is expected that December would have the highest number of arrivals for the year and would surpass the 151,496 arrivals in November. An interesting feature has been the large number of Russian tourists. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority said that the top source markets for the year are India with 20%, Russia at 14%, the United Kingdom at 10%, Germany at 7% and Australia with 5%. The other countries in the top 10 are China, the United States, France, the Maldives and Canada. The numbers reflect the number of foreign passport holders who have visited the country and includes visitors of Sri Lankan descent who hold foreign passports. Tonight on The Deep Dive, we feature Nishad Vijayatunga, President of the Sri Lanka Association of Inbound Tour Operators.
Good evening.
On today's deep dive, we have Mr. Nishad Vijayathunga, the President of Sri Lanka Association of Inbound Tour Operators. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Hashni. Thank you for having me.
Sir, is the tourist season up to expectations?
Well, tourist season is something that evolved during the time that we only had Western tourists visiting Sri Lanka. So what happened was during their winter, the numbers picked up. So essentially November to April, and also there was an increase in the months of July, August, which was the height of their summer. But now we see that with newer markets opening out like Far East and China and also other parts of the world, we see that thankfully Sri Lanka is becoming a year-round destination. So we don't necessarily have a big season change. Of course, that said, having come out of these issues in the last what we faced in the last year, actually we were looking forward to December, January, the winter season, and by the looks of it, yes, the numbers are on paper is looking good, and we are hoping that we will have a fairly good winter season this year.
Mr. Vijayathunga, are the country's tourism targets realistic?
That's actually numbers. I'm not a big numbers person, but I guess in order to measure and to get to some point, we have to set ourselves a target, and the easiest way of doing that is by giving a number. By the looks of it, the numbers were set by the Tourism Development Authority, and they are. I'm not sure whether they will achieve the full number that they expected, but we have come pretty close to it. I think we have come at least about 80-85% close to what the expectation was for the year 2023. We still have another 2 weeks to go, or less, just under 2 weeks to go. And it is a season, it is a time where numbers will pick up, so hopefully we may achieve the target that has been set.
Sri Lanka, you will come back for more. What is your opinion on the country's new tagline?
So basically, I think Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau and the agency that they work with, they did some research and went into it, and they found that around 30-35% of visitors to Sri Lanka for leisure or holiday makers, tourists, are returnees, are people who are coming back. So I think they felt that tagline such as you will come back for more will work, because also it gives a message that people are coming back and there is more to come back to do. So I think it's not a bad tagline, but also as far as the industry is concerned, from our point of view, we were really pushing for something to take place, because there's no major campaign that was run for a very long time. And also coming out of the economic crisis last year, unfortunately the image created for Sri Lanka was that we don't have food, we don't have medicine, we don't have fuel, all of that stuff. So we have managed to get past a lot of that, and we actually saw that when we were at the World Travel Market in London in November. We had a record 70 odd companies that participated, 74 I think, and the response was good, and we felt that people have kind of got past that, but that was just organically what has happened. So now I think with this new campaign, they have started something called the check-in campaign, which talks about Sri Lanka is ready, Sri Lanka is open, Sri Lanka is ready to have you. So I think that campaign that was launched is a good thing, because we can change the perception of in the people's potential tourist mind that Sri Lanka is open and it's a safe and good place to get to. So we are hoping that it will work well, and we'll see in the coming months the results of that campaign.
Mr. Wijetunga, in your opinion, what do you think that the government needs to do to support the industry?
So our government actually, the big thing was since the economic crisis last year was that we needed a lot of support in terms of normalizing the situation. I think that has been done to a great extent, and that is why we are seeing the numbers of people coming in. However, going forward, we find there are a couple of things that we are concerned about. Not a couple, actually, about 3 or 4 in particular. One is there's been a minimum room rate gazetted for Colombo, and that has actually seen a big drop in the number of visitors to Colombo. And as a result, we are not that they are not coming to Colombo and going to other parts of the country, but they are going to other destinations. So that's a bit sad. But so therefore, it is good if the government doesn't implement such things, and at least if they want to and they feel there is a necessity, then they need to get into a good dialogue with the stakeholders on that particular subject. So it's good if they don't implement such things without any warning. Then number 2 is actually we are talking about tourism being the low-hanging fruit, and wanting to get high-end tourists. In fact, you asked me the same thing a little before we started this discussion. So in order to bring high-end tourists, the infrastructure needs to be in place. The issue that we see is the VAT. One thing, it's going up to 18%. Of course, one would say that's only a 3% increase because hotels are paying VAT, so it's going from 15 to 18. But DMCs or inbound tour operators, because we bring in foreign exchange into the country, we were exempt from VAT, but that exemption has now been removed from the 1st of January. So as a result, on about 35-40% of our overall cost, we have to add on an 18%. We are taking 18% hit on that, plus a 3% increase on the hotel rates. But again, it's not all hotels that are paying VAT, only certain hotels. So there is an issue depending on which hotels we are using for a particular tour or for a particular package. That is a problem that we are actually worried about. It's coming up in January. We understand the government needs revenue, and we are not opposing it as such. But all we are asking is that some of it at least the VAT exemption, removal of the exemption to our sector is deferred to at least early beginning of 25 or maybe end of 24 or something like that, so that we can then plan.
And that brings us to the end of Deep Dive tonight. Our guest tonight was Mr. Nishad Wijetunga, the President of Sri Lanka Association of Inbound Tour Operators. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Hashni, for having me.
And for the Business Buzz team, I'm Hashni Pathirava.
The Business Buzz.
Been undermined, that whole procurement standards, practices have not been followed.
So if you just look at the women who are earning a decent wage, it is less than 10% of the working age.
Industry where the dollars or the foreign exchange we bring in, there is a cascading effect.
Look at the revenue. So this budget is expecting almost a 45% increase in the revenue.
That it is particularly for Sri Lanka at this time. We have so little leeway.
The People's Platform.
Weaving dreams into reality, Galmatha endeavours to provide the villagers of Ihalakumbukwawa, Suryawawa in Hambantota with clean drinking water, a stream of hope flowing into their lives. Galmatha, for the people, by the people.
The Business Buzz.
The World Bank has released the second $250 million tranche to the government of Sri Lanka under a program to support reforms to restore macroeconomic stability.
The World Bank has released the government the second tranche of $250 million under the $500 million Resilience, Stability and Economic Turnaround Development Policy Operation known as RESET. The first tranche also of $250 million was released in June 2023. This boost to the government's coffers came due to the progress of fiscal reforms by the government. The RESET program provides broad budget support to the government. It is the first in a series of expected World Bank programs to support foundational reforms to restore macroeconomic stability and promote a recovery led by the private sector. The World Bank's country director for Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka said that the World Bank's support is being coordinated and sequenced with the IMF, ADB and other development partners.
Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa has assured small and medium enterprises that the government will bring in a new law on parate executions to assist the struggling SME sector. Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa has assured small and medium enterprises that the government will bring a new law on parate executions and that will ease the burdens of this vital sector. The minister said that banks are misusing the current parate law to confiscate the assets of SMEs. The SME sector comprises more than 50% of the nation's economy and is viewed as a vital component of the country's future economic recovery. The minister in particular pointed out that state banks should remain true to their objectives and do more to support the SME sector. The minister also made the allegation that relatives of top banking officials were obtaining properties seized from SMEs. He noted that the sector was under severe strain due to high electricity costs and taxes. The minister's statement came after the SME sector at an anti-parate business forum called for the suspension of parate executions until the country achieves a GDP growth rate of at least 4.5%. Representatives warned that the SME sector is collapsing after banks acquired the assets of 1,200 SMEs through parate execution laws. Now, the government will soon bring in new changes to the laws governing state banks, including the Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank, National Savings Bank, and the State Mortgage and Investment Bank. The government is aiming to significantly amend the laws governing major state banks, including the Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank, National Savings Bank, and the State Mortgage and Investment Bank. These amendments are likely in the first quarter of 2024. The amendments are aimed at broad-basing the shareholding of the state banks in accordance with the government's plans to restructure major institutions in the state sector. The amendments would also increase the bank's transparency, accountability, and commercial viability and bring them more into alignment with IMF directives. Each bank is governed by its own banking act. The state banks continue to dominate the nation's commercial banking industry despite the expansion of private sector banks. There are significant flaws in the reforms that the government is proposing for the country's power sector, according to the experts who spoke at a recent discussion on power sector reforms. The government's proposed reforms to the power sector came under the microscope during a recent forum on reforms for a sustainable power sector for the next generation, organized by the Electrical Engineering Society of the University of Moratuwa. Many experts weighed in on the topic and noted that the proposed Electricity Amendment Act is incomplete and needs much work before it would bring about the desired reforms. Among them were Professor Asanka Rodrigo of the University of Moratuwa and energy expert Dr. Tilak Siambalapitiya. It was noted that Sri Lanka needs to decide what type of model it would choose to follow with regard to its energy policy and that basic fundamentals need to be addressed to make the sector more efficient and competitive, including transparency, regulatory matters, sustainability and competition. The southern African state of Angola sent shockwaves across the global oil industry by announcing that it will be withdrawing its membership in OPEC, the global cartel that controls oil prices and production. The South African nation of Angola has said it is leaving the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Companies, or OPEC, with effect from the 1st of January 2024. OPEC is the cartel that controls the production and pricing of oil. It is mainly made up of Middle Eastern countries. Angola, which joined OPEC in 2007, produces about 4% of OPEC production, which amounts to 1.1 million barrels per day, compared with 28 million barrels per day from the whole of OPEC. Angola's government says it is unhappy unhappy with OPEC's restrictions on the amount of oil that it is allowed to produce. It becomes the latest member to exit after Qatar pulled out in 2019, followed by Ecuador in 2020. OPEC was founded in 1960 by Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Venezuela, Iran and Iraq. Angola joined the group in 2007. Since 2017, OPEC has worked with Russia and other non-members as part of the OPEC Plus group to manage the market.
The Business Buzz.
අපි හැමදාම ආර්ථිකය දැක්කේ පාට කණ්ණාඩි වලින්. ආර්ථිකය සංවර්ධනය කරන්න පාට කණ්ණාඩි ගලවලා රට වෙනුවෙන් පෙරට එන්න.
Ganadda, in its strides, secures the path for Surya Pokuna Husalavina, guiding their journeys, banishing fears. Laying the foundation stone for a new bridge, a testament to safety and progress. Ganadda, for the people, by the people.
The Business Buzz.
Let's take a look at some of the corporate events in the news. Blue Diamonds Jewelry Worldwide PLC has opened 3 new Fio boutiques in Sigiriya, Anuradhapura and Hirikatiya. Selinco Life was named Brand of the Year for the second consecutive time at the recent Slim Awards. Selinco Life has also won 3 other gold awards, namely Service Brand of the Year, Local Brand of the Year and Agile Brand of the Year. It also won the Silver Award for CSR Brand of the Year. Heriton's Kondalama has topped LMD's Customer Excellence Survey 2023. The survey is conducted over a 3-month period. Haley's PLC won gold at TAG Awards for overall excellence in corporate reporting for the second consecutive year. Haley's PLC also won golds for overall integrated reporting, diversified sector group turnover over 50 billion rupees and manufacturing sector group turnover over 10 billion rupees. The group and its subsidiaries won a total of 9 golds, 6 silvers and 3 bronze awards. Demo won 2 golds, a silver and a bronze award at the TAG Awards 2023. They included gold for diversified holdings with a group turnover of over 50 billion rupees. Jat Holdings won gold in the emerging listed companies category and a silver in the trading sector at the TAG Awards 2023. First Capital, a Janashakti Group company, won gold in the investment banking category at the TAG Awards 2023. Alliance Finance was crowned Green Brand of the Year at the recent Slim Brand Excellence Awards 2023. It is now time for Food for Thought, where we give you something to think about. There is an old saying, don't kick a man when he is down. Sri Lanka's population was knocked down by our government when it declared bankruptcy, destroyed the currency, brought about galloping inflation and high interest rates, and ruined the economy. Since then, the government's answer has been to heap enormous taxes on the already suffering people in order to raise money for itself. But all of a sudden, confounding almost everyone, the economy began racing its head. GDP growth in the third quarter of this calendar year was positive after many quarters of negative results. A similar or better result is expected in the fourth quarter. But just as the public races its heads, the government is about to administer another hammer blow by a massive increase in the value-added tax or VAT. Economists are now warning of increased inflation, wiping out of the people's meager disposable income and higher interest rates, all of which will likely stunt GDP growth again. Isn't that much like kicking the public when they're down? You be the judge. We leave you tonight with words of wisdom from a global leader, as we always do. Tonight we have a quote from the 18th century Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith, and I quote, "Little else is requisite to carry a state to the highest degree of opulence from the lowest barbarism, but peace, easy taxes, and a tolerable administration of justice." And that's all the time we have for you tonight, and this concludes the final episode of the Business Buzz for the year 2023. For the Newsfirst and Business Buzz team, I'm Theruni Karunaratna. We'll see you again next week, same time, which of course will be a brand new year. Until then, take care and good night.
The Business Buzz.